Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So first, I would take a few minutes and I will request yourself to introduce your role, what organization you work for, and what does your organization do, so that when you speak, people know from where are you coming.
Hi everyone, my name is Pramod Deshmukh. I am the Director for Data Center Services in Ramboll. Ramboll, as you know, is a um, global engineering company. We do a lot of work in India. We are in India since 1997. Our recent projects have been in infrastructure space, in telecom and data center space. Uh, we have done the structural design for the famous Atal Setu in Mumbai. We have done the entire new corridor in Mumbai, Nariman Point area, which is currently under development. We are doing the Ghevar data center, Ghevar airport near Noida. We have done more than 100 tunnels across country, um, hundreds of bridges, etc. So we are predominantly, and we have done number of high-rise towers in Mumbai. And so that's a Ramwall introduction. I had the data center division, and we globally we have done over 150 hyperscale data centers, and millions of space and square feet of data center across the globe. My personal background is IT. That's why I selected this edge computing. I worked for a number of years in Intel, then at Hewlett Packard, and then in Cisco. So the combined background of this will be, I don't know what are you going to ask me, but let's see. Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Himanshu Kumar, and I'm co-founder and CTO of Technavious. Technavious is a startup in data center engineering space. We are building data centers right from scratch, say land selection to design, plan, and execute end to end. So a kind of a one-stop solution provider for data center design and build and engineering space. We also take care of compliances related to data center. While say on one side we have like a big ramble side kind of introduction, but like I say, on other hand we are like a startup working with lot of optimism in this industry, and we see India growing rapidly, especially towards the edge, when edge revolution will start happening very soon, and we are actually actively involved and significantly contributing in this development. Thank you.
So I'll. So in a way, you have something in commonality, and yet you are little different, I would say. So I will start asking you, how do you see data center, hyperscaler, and edge different in their entity, in their being? Uh, what exactly is your understanding of difference between the two? Or is it just the small megawatt size which goes little deeper in the territory, closer to consumption? That's edge, and just a bigger data center which is right in the metro is hyperscaler. Is that the only difference?
Yeah, so that's very interesting. Like I say, popular perception, what you said is that data center classified in terms of capacity, hyperscaler or say mid enterprise grade, and then say edge. And against that popular, like I say, our when I said that edge revolution is about to start, actually edge is application centric. It can be like at a global scale, availability zone can also be a edge, like a hyperscale kind of parlance. But like say nowadays the thing which is evolving, that hyperscale is typically a concentration of the capacity, compute capacity, storage capacity, or say associated infrastructure, which typically goes into say tens of megawatt to start multiple phases. Whereas edge, as a design, is sub 10 megawatt. In India, probably we just have started going beyond 1 megawatt. And since most of the discussions are centered about capacity, like edge is 1 megawatt and say hyperscale is say 20 and more, but in our say understanding, edge is about being application centricity. Like certain things like latency, like we first time we observed that even say consumer level, when we are doing video conferencing, jitter is something that becomes very important parameter. Like earlier, no one was bothered that what jitter is all about. Latency is actually playing a very important role in even say consumer space. Like you are observing, people are checking that how much latency I'm experiencing with respect to application. All those actually experience, which typically we call user experience in enterprise and say consumer space, can be delivered only through edge. Hyperscale is actually the massive capacity which will be feeding edge that is getting distributed, but ultimately user experience will be delivered through edge. So in nutshell, for us, edge that as far as architectural aspect is concerned, edge is closer to the user to deliver user experience in terms of latencies, jitter, throughput, and many other things, whereas hyperscale is more capacity centric, where massive compute and storage is required, hyperscales are being set up.
Like to ask you, when it comes to the architecture of data center, the IT architecture, I'm saying, the core, all the components of IT, how do you fundamentally see edge different than hyperscalers? So when we talk about data center, typically you have one building, core and shell, then you have MEP fit out equipment, and then you have IT. And IT is actually a purpose of data center, right? You run the IT operations, and all the other things like MEP and building are meant for IT infrastructure to run. So many times it is, at least in such events where it is not IT focused, it is more MEP, more core and shell, more real estate focused, we tend to ignore this aspect. So how do you emphasize importance of IT infrastructure, IT architecture, and how is it different than hyperscalers?
Great. Thank you for that question. So I can talk completely from the application. So the first thing we have to keep in mind is the user experience. Now, user experience is the driving factor. Now, there could be application where, like in email, so it doesn't matter where your email server is residing in your own city or in some different country, you know. So, but now we have the legal restriction, the data has to stay in the country. But I work for a MNC, and my data center is, my email could be coming from somewhere. So that is one application. Coming to other one, he says video conferencing. Other one could be, you know, in the rural India, now we have healthcare, where the healthcare solutions are being provided by a remote doctor. Now, if you have an infrastructure where your data, whatever the data is produced by the sensors from the patient who is under treatment, if it has to go all the way through a very long latency to some long distance data center, then you know the purpose will not be served. Or in farming you have nowadays the drones. They are collecting, taking pictures. They are generating a lot of megabyte, and those need to be transferred, processed, analyzed, and a report or a signal has to be sent to somebody. So in such cases, I don't actually differentiate between, I'm a compute guy, I'm an Intel guy. So for me, it's compute, how fast you can do it. Then I'm a networking person from Cisco. So it's a latency. And all these is coming together in to deliver an experience, right? So as an architecture person, when it all depends on me, how I configure the application. Now coming to the IT platform, you know, virtualization, cloud application. So moment you have a application which is spread right from the mobile phone, which is the access, to the edge, to the core, and the cloud. At every level, you have to you have to configure the whole solution in such a way that it is delivering the response in the due time, you know, so that your end customer is not bored, or he doesn't move out to the next page, or you know, he doesn't drop you. So you have to retain your client, you have to deliver his expectation. Number two is your security. Your application is now spread across all four nodes. access, edge, core, and this. And you don't know if your edge computer is in a small data center. In that center, also you need a complete 7-level security, a physical level, and the IT level security. So all these things are coming in play, and there is a scope for at each level, and then there is a integrated approach is required. You can't have vendor A, vendor B, vendor C. The compliance among them has to be streamlined. So people generally go to one single vendor who can really configure all this for you. So all these things suddenly start coming in play, and that's a huge opportunity for us, the technology provider, the service provider, as well as the people who are running business, like a Zomato or this competition. We are not. I'm taking names because these are the very frequently used applications. So considering that, there is an opportunity. The whole beauty of this entire system is the value creation. Look at whatever platform today Zomato and Swiggy are using. The amount of value they are generating is so high that they can easily afford security, they can afford a cloud, they can afford edge computing, and the application experience to be delivered right on. So that's how I would like to explain. So
Fantastic.
thank you.
Very
Yeah.
well said. Would you like to add anything? If not, then I have some other question for you.
I think he has covered everything on that.
Actually, he covered my next questions also. So very well answered. I mean, light away in. But now I will ask you, when you talk about hyperscalers, you typically look at Chennai, Mumbai, and maybe a few other places in India, and you essentially see ground plus 7, ground plus 8 kind of data centers. Whereas if you give a choice to any data center designer or operator, ideally they would like to have
horizontal flat.
ground floor structure, at the most G plus 1. The advantage that edge has is it goes closer to the point of consumption, therefore B class, C class or tier 2, tier 3 cities where real estate is little cheaper. So does it mean, so therefore will you always prefer designing edge data center as a horizontal one vis-a-vis vertical? That's one. Second is, you already talked about the security parametering. But when you answer this question, I'll come to part 2 of it.
Uh, Again, like I say, like this is very like one of my favorite subject. We keep on, like I said, discussing that why not flat, why not distributed, why vertical.
Wow, great. So
Right.
I asked you something that you like to talk
Absolutely,
about.
I like a lot. In fact, like globally, if we see the even hyperscale data centers are like flat and spread out, even in US and many places we see. But in India or say Asian countries, we have this a kind of a unique phenomenon, and we'll have to understand where it is coming from. Primarily, it is real estate cost, like ultimately land cost, where it comes from. Traditionally, the data center, hyperscale data centers have evolved in cities where subsea landing cables has landed, right? This is Chennai and Mumbai. And the locations where, like, if you see pockets where these things have come, like I say in Chennai, it started with SV Salai when VSNL was there, then Ambattur and Siruseri is becoming hubs, tidal park. So while total capacity is there, but it is concentrated in pockets.
Clustered.
And everyone wants to be there in that cluster.
And sorry to interrupt, is the reason of that is because the development happened and the landscape evolved.
Absolutely.
We did not have planned data center cities or zones made
Right.
where you could do design as you want.
Absolutely.
But you had to do the design based on what you get.
Absolutely.
And that's how data centers like in Mumbai and Chennai have evolved.
Correct.
So
Correct.
it's not how going forward you would like to design it,
Right.
but how it has come up.
Absolutely, absolutely. So in fact, that is a very important factor, like clustering of the compute, like a scalability. In fact, it is very difficult in today's world to predict that how much compute capacity will be required. So anyone who is taking a place wants to de-risk future like a clustering. If you are building data center at a place and within say a few 100 meters you are getting another place, then naturally you will prefer, because at hyperscale, setting up a new node or say place becomes very challenging. That's why that factor is driving, and certain real estate is becoming very costly. But as we progress, especially towards the edge side of it, edge doesn't have such kind of constraint. Like say it is a modular approach. You can create as many edge as possible, right? So what I see that even say hyperscale, as we progress and we get a new supply of powered land, probably the flat architecture will start taking over. But we'll have to wait for that for some time.
Right.
Our experience of the industry says that new acquisitions are happening in the tune of say 50 acres of land. And 50 acres of land is not required if you go vertical. Ultimately, probably the objective is to go horizontal. That's why the future trend will be flat data center even in India.
At least for edge, when you go to
And
deeper, yeah.
edge for sure, because you need to, you don't know how much capacity will be required even say edge. Edge is definitely going to be, like I say, I'm very, very confident that edge is going to be modular and flat. That is what I'm.
Right.
So my dream is in the way the semiconductor architectures are coming, my dream, and then we are also talking of sustainability, right? I don't know whether you have a question, but then, so look at Mumbai and Chennai. In Mumbai, from that Ambernath to Panvel, entire backside, you are going to build 1.5 gigawatt, 2 gigawatt. Now let's take a simple example. My human body, you, three of us are generating 100, 300 watt on this platform. Now a data center is 1 megawatt. Now 100 watt into 10 is 1 kilowatt, into 1000 is 1 megawatt. So 10,000 human being generating heat is 1 megawatt. 100 megawatt is 1 crore. Okay. So 1 gigawatt is 1 crore. So 1 crore in that small patch population, you are fitting in, say, few hundred acres, right? So we are really killing the environment. On top of that, we are going to make flats, and we are going to let the population stay in a very hot zone called Mumbai Ambernath area, or be it Chennai area. Now, this is not sustainable friendly, not at all. And look at our monsoon in India flows. It comes from Kerala, goes to up into Mumbai region, then Gujarat, and then goes toward Himachal. This entire belt from Mumbai to Gujarat to Rajasthan to Delhi, we are making a corridor, and we are generating a lot of heat. And we will be generating heat which will creating obstacle to the monsoon flow going into the Uttar Pradesh and all that area. Because this side is all a hilly area, right? This entire Sahyadri belt. So, are we doing the right thing?
So you disturb the heat map of nature.
Yeah,
And
yes. The natural flow we are disturbing by generating this heat point called data center.
and you force the airflows to change.
Yeah, we are literally, that's why at one place you will see such a high rainfall, other place will be struggling. So what is way out? So my dream is whatever he is selling, the edge data center. What is an edge data center? A container waste, a container hanging to every power transmission line, so that container generates, say, 300 kilowatt, which next day morning it get cooled by the natural air what we have, and hemisphere what we have. So when we reach that level, we will be protecting our environment. We will be having enough compute. We will have power because we are connecting container across transmission line. So that is my dream, and that's where we will reach somewhere, because somewhere this crazy run to make 100 megawatt in 5 acre, and this is
The density. Yeah.
density is killing us. So that's my point.
Right. So two things. Now you talked about density. What typically are the density considerations for edge designing right now? Uh, because obviously edge ultimately has to be a part of delivery model of data connected to the edge, hyperscaler. And if hyperscalers are becoming 100 kilowatt per rack kind of densities, obviously for those workloads, the edge also will have to catch up, right? So what densities typically do you consider when you design an edge today? One. Second is question to both of you. Is 5G an enabler? Is it a fuel? Or has it created the need and feasibility of edge? So is it 5G created the wave of edge, or is it helping the rollout of edge? Or is it both?
And yeah, 5G is my favorite subject. So actually, first of all, In my opinion, 5G potential is yet to actually come in full swing in India. We are just seeing a version of 5G has multiple dimensions like say ultra low latency, network slicing, IoT enable like massive mobile type machine type communication. Now what we are currently seeing when people say 5G is nothing but the speed and throughput, right? That has happened because it is a like a say upgraded version of 4G. But 5G potential will get realized only when right set of edge infrastructures is deployed across the country, and that ranging in the different size micro data center, mini data center will play prominent role, and then edge supporting all those things. So what I see that 5G is intertwined in this entire space. That is my view. Without 5G, probably will not be able to see the kind of traction we are expecting in edge. And edge is also a kind of a enabler of 5G. Without that, 5G will not see the day of light. That's
Both. It's a trigger and
absolutely.
it's an enabler both, right? Yeah. Over to you.
Okay. So, yeah, I agree with that. 5G is the driver which is bringing compute closer to the user experience. So, of course, as we move forward, 5G is still in evolving, and there's further, as is splicing and the network bandwidth and latency will be really fantastic on 5G. And the way ultimate is the user experience, and the way we India or the humans have adopted the life is now started depending on internet. Without, if you don't have phone, you are like, so that as our phone will get loaded with more and more apps, and our dependency on those apps, just take an Uber, and if you don't get the map properly, the user experience is, what the hell is happening on this? Why my map is not proper? So I need that map coming on that Chennai road faster. And for that, the compute has to happen somewhere nearby. And the 5G, whatever bandwidth is available, should be able to support that. So yes, both are the drivers. I agree with you.
Thank you. Do you, do anyone
I'd
of
like to comment on that capacity part also.
Sure, go
That
ahead.
because that is another area which keeps her busy in thinking that what is the right capacity or say density of the rack in edge. Now we have to. It is very difficult to answer question in straight away that what edge density, whether it is 3, 6, 10, or say X30. What we look at it like our first question is that edge has to have defined purpose, whether it is going to be network edge, whether it is enterprise edge, or whether it is going to be inferencing edge of AI. And that solves the problem. Like if you are building an edge for inferencing, probably you will have to think something in terms of GPU, lighter version of say 30 kilowatt kind of a rack density you will have to think. But when you are seeing enterprise grade, it may range from 6 to say 15 kilowatt. And telco still works, like telco edge still works between 3 to 6 kilowatt of rack density. So these are the things consideration at design stage you will have to consider to actually finalize that what should be the density.
Right. Great perspective. So, both of you, what do you see as an imminent and possibly a little away disruptive technology that will come into edge? The way we design data centers today, we run and operate them. Do you see something completely new on the horizon as a way of life, or maybe technology deployment? Because in hyperscalers we see a lot of changes happening all the time. In fact, sometimes it happens so that the change is so fast that you deploy a technology, there is an ROI horizon, and before even you reach that, there is another change and another change. So you get into that maze, you require at least to live through that ROI to get the benefit of that investment, and then you can think about the next investment. But because the rate of change is so fast, you get another change within that horizon, then you get another one. So do you see something like that happening also in edge?
Actually, what we see, like say a major change, and even say life at edge will become more difficult than hyperscaler. That is what we foresee because edge is going to be application centric, as we mentioned in the beginning, and application plethora of application. You can't predict that which application will become disruptive, which will be adopted in fastest possible manner. All these will define that what kind of a design or say so. Probably it is a big challenge, and that's why we advocate that go modular in edge. One container for this kind of workload, another container. So be very dynamic. Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with him. So because you mentioned application, I'm really impressed with virtual reality and augmented reality. Walk on a new city on a street, and your phone is telling you each and every item what is good here. So augmented reality will drive it, and suddenly it will be in local language. So artificial intelligence, which is currently at a machine level in the language domain, once it comes into videos and audio, video, and others, the requirement will be completely different, because one thing is not going to change, which is I need experience right now, here, the best one. So that is going to drive. So all this planning will continue to change, will keep happening.
Great. I think we can keep talking, but we have a limitation of time, so we can have maybe some questions if you have. Good. I think you have left no space for questions. Good, sir. Thank you very much.